2NURFM.com, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.
Talking to us now, he can't be imitated either. Professor Tim Roberts, Director of the Tom Farrell Institute, talking to us about the environment and us, thanks to our sponsor, West Wallsend Lifestyle, Sugar Valley Lifestyle Estate, West Wallsend. And a lot of people, I'm sure, have wondered about this, Tim. Those beautiful pines in Hannell Street, Wickham, they looked so majestic. And then one by one, they started to look sickly and poorly, and now a good number of them have been cut down. Hello and welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and it's also good to spread the word, I think, about these trees, because I, like many people, have driven along there and thought, oh, fantastic, gee, they've done a good job on the industrial highway, Hannell Street, and then you go along and you think, oh, they're dead, and then you go along and you see the tree trunks are cut off, and if you have a look at them in the medium strip, they must be at least 30 centimetres across, these things. Did well. So they did well. Well, what happened is that these trees were planted sort of 10, 15 years ago, and they started to die. An investigation done by the Royal Botanic Gardens scientists in Sydney showed that, indeed, that they had a fungus. And the fungus was a common fungus that affects Norfolk Island pines when they're not growing very well. So there's been a wipeout in New Zealand and so on in various places. And what they found when they investigated these ones was that the soil chemistry seemed to have changed. When the trees were planted, the hypothesis is, and I haven't verified this, but the trees were planted as saplings into good soil, and so they grew quite happily. But as their roots got out into the subsoil, which was really road base, which was really slag from the steelworks, so they encountered a lot of zinc. And these scientists found, and indeed there was a huge amount of zinc in the trees, and the thought is that the zinc weakened them, so they stopped flourishing, and then they were more susceptible to this particular fungus that's got a long name. This particular fungus that causes the tree to die from the top down. And indeed, if you go along Hannell Street now, and I saw them last night and pointed them out to my visiting students from overseas who are in the car, you can actually see some of these up near the roundabout that are, the crown of them is now diminished quite significantly, and I presume they're on the way out as well. So that's a bit of information. And
did they actually sort of do anything? Was there anything they could have done to improve the soil, or was it the fact that the roots had reached so far out into the road base that really there's only that opportunity to feed them at the base of the trunk, really, isn't there?
Right, you're running a little outside my my area of knowledge now, or information.
I'm just curious,
I did read that there were some attempts made at amelioration of the soil, but there's always a problem when you do that. You might further release the zinc, and therefore zinc levels might go up. So I understand that our City Council had a really good go at trying to save them and to get them to pick up their game and get more vigorous and fight off the fungus, but clearly
wasn't to be.
A whole lot of them weren't able to do that. And you know, the funguses are pretty dangerous things when they get going, as we all know. If your immune system weakens, and then you can go down with tinea or and so on, all these things.
I've never heard of death by tinea, Professor Tim.
No,
but I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. It can be nasty, any sort of fungal infestation in trees or humans for that matter. The figs on the other side did pretty well though, from memory, didn't they?
They're still going very
okay,
well.
Are they? All right.
And they're flourishing, and perhaps when they get a bit older and put their roots down, or perhaps they don't have as great a sensitivity to the metals as these particular pines had. Don't know about that either, really. Lots of questions, lots of questions.
That's good. Thank you for solving that mystery, because I am sure a lot of people would have driven along and thought, gee, they're great trees. I wonder what's killing them or why they're dying. What are we doing next week? What's my homework?
Well, I thought I'd have a look at the work that Tom Farrell did early on in getting Blackbutt Reserve established. So I was going to look at that in two parts. One part was up to the Second World War and then after the Second World War, because there's a lot of history there that we can learn from.
And indeed it is a fabulous facility for people of our region, and so many tourists visit Blackbutt as well.
That's right.
Professor Tim Roberts, thank you so much. Look forward to chatting next Tuesday.
Okay.
It's The Environment and Us, brought to you by Professor Tim Roberts, Director of the Tom Farrell Institute, 2NURFM.